Good afternoon, everyone. Virtual reception. We have a fun and interesting 60 minutes planned as we introduce each of the finalists in the technology integration and the sustainability categories. Before we get started though, I'd like to give a quick overview of how we're gonna, what our agenda is for today. We're gonna start off with Amy, a member of our founding team at InnoVision and our current board chair. She'll say a few words, followed by some word from our sponsor. We always have to throw that into any video production, right? And then I'm going to go around and talk about each of these two categories and introduce each of you finalists. And then I'm going to ask that you introduce your team and talk a little bit about the reason why you are here today. And then what I'd like to do, if time permits, is open it up so that we can maybe ask a couple of questions. I might ask a question or two, and if any of you want to do so, feel free. I think we'll use the Zoom raise your hand. That's the easiest, although for you more technically inclined, you can use some of the Zoom functionality where you can electronically raise your hand. So I will do my best to try to recognize that. And I'm going to ask some of my fellow board members like Chris and Amy, if I miss you, feel free to interrupt me and say, we've got a question from someone. And Chris, if you could also monitor chat for me, if something appears in chat that I miss, you might also bring that forward. Is that, can I lean on you for that one? You can just nod. He's giving me that deer in the headlights look at the moment. While he's thinking about that, if I could ask also that each of you right click on your name, for those of you who haven't done that already, and add your organizational affiliation. So if you could indicate to all of us, think of this as your name tag that you would have if you were in an in-person event. So with that game plan kind of laid out, I'd like to start off and hand the mic over to Amy.
Well, everyone, welcome to the InnoVision community, particularly to the finalists. Congratulations, we're glad you're here. And also to those of you who are tuning in just because you're passionate about innovation. 22 years ago, a group that was passionate about innovation gathered and formed InnoVision with a mission to highlight, promote, and foster innovation. I don't think any of us at that point in time thought we'd be here in 2020 with virtual webinars or virtual Zoom meetings to introduce finalists, but here we are. And although not specifically called out in our mission statement, networking and connections are a real key component of the InnoVision experience. So I'm glad the finalists in these categories had some time to begin some of the banter and conversations about innovation and the journey, and hope that you will continue that not only with the finalists in your categories, but those in the other categories as well. InnoVision obviously is a not-for-profit organization, and everything we do is made possible by our finalists. I mean, by our finalists, yes, but also by our sponsors. And I wanted to thank the award sponsors, Milliken and Company, Medion, Fluor Corporation, Tektronix Industries Power Equipment. Also our award celebration sponsor, Contech Inc. All of you, I hope, will be attending that award celebration on November 17th, where we once again celebrate the finalists and also announce the winners. And two other sponsors, Velux is a sponsor of this Meet the Finalists series, and South Carolina Research Authority is the headline sponsor for this series. I have to say that our sponsors contribute much more than just funding for the programs that we have. Many of them go beyond that, providing guidance to InnoVision, joining in the programs that we have, sharing their knowledge and insights in our forum series. And so for that, we are very grateful. As I said, South Carolina Research Authority is the headline sponsor for this Meet the Finalists series, and we want to have a word from Bob Quinn.
The South Carolina Research Authority fuels our state's innovation economy by accelerating technology-enabled growth in academia, entrepreneurship, and industry. We do this through the work of our 4 programs: SC Academic Innovations, SC Facilities, SC Industry Solutions, and SC Launch. We have sponsored the InnoVision Awards for many years, and it is our sincere pleasure to sponsor this inaugural Meet the Finalists webinar series. The pivot to a series of virtual events rather than one finalist reception gathering actually provides us more time to hear about each finalist. We are passionate about innovation and are always energized and encouraged by the achievements of the InnoVision finalists. We already have a relationship with many of you, and we are looking forward to hearing from those we have yet to meet.
And the first category that we're going to examine in more detail is the Technology Integration Award, which recognizes a company or organization for the innovative application of an existing technology. The focus of this award is on how an existing technology is applied to create new value. And I'd like to start with our first finalist, Delta Bravo Artificial Intelligence. And I'm going to hand it off to Rick Opedisano, who will give us a little overview of the technology that brought them here today.
Hey everybody, appreciate that, Michael. My name is Rick Opedisano. I definitely see some familiar names on the roll call over here. Mr. Warner, we've got several folks from our team. We've got a couple of our developers, Adam Ferguson, John McAlilly, our CTO, some of the guys on our sales team, Curry Nichols. Yeah, this is a great crowd. So very exciting. So guys, I'm going to share my screen real quick here, and let's make sure we can just pop right over there and hit that button. And if you guys could just do me this small favor of confirming that you see my screen, we'll get started right away. Can everyone see that?
We can. Yes.
Excellent. All right, so guys, I'm going to give you a brief kind of just brief summary of who Delta Bravo is and why we're nominated for the award today. And really, the heart of our story is really focused around South Carolina. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that kind of starting now. So with that being said, I think that all of us have watched these shows, right? These kind of crime shows, where you have a detective that puts together one of these, boards up on the wall, and they stare at it and they're like trying to figure out what's happening here. And this is kind of really where our story starts. And so not to say that it starts on a detective's murder board, but when you have these scenarios go on with these detectives, they always start with an event, right? And they say, you know what, geez, something happened here. We want to figure out what happened, why it happened, with the intent of making sure that it doesn't happen again. And what they do is they look and they say, hey, has this event occurred multiple times over a certain period of time? And where has that event occurred? Has that event occurred in a single location, other locations? Do those locations share something in common, right? And then they start questioning people. They start, talking with the subject matter experts that are involved in that particular topic, or maybe witnesses, right? Friends of the family, people like that, to gain some understanding above and beyond, what's immediately presented by the information. Then they start to look and corroborate those stories, right? Is there any sort of supporting data around all these things that we're putting together? Does anything stand out? Are there any exceptions? Are there any scenarios that just don't fit in? Because ultimately, the goal of these detectives is to find, to use this board and spread all this stuff out to find patterns and correlations and connections that help them predict if or when this crime is going to occur again and prevent that. So when you think about that concept, the same thing is going on manufacturing floors and plants all across South Carolina and all across the world. And this effort is called Industry 4.0. And so when you think about what Industry 4.0 is, it's the act of these manufacturers going through this exact same process, but taking data from machines, processes, operations, with the goal of using that data to predict and prevent problems in quality, right? Problems in machine maintenance and machine performance and downtime. They're looking to be able to use that data to predict sales patterns, demand forecasting, inventory movement. All these things, will allow them to attack the business with a lot more awareness and to run the business more cost effectively. So when you think about that, that whole concept of putting all that data together, just the same way that it would take a detective a long time and would be extremely people intensive, it's the same way with manufacturers. So what we found is, these manufacturers say, geez, I've got all these different systems that are collecting all this information. Putting it together can be a little bit overwhelming because there's just so much of it. And a lot of times there's 4 red flags that stop these folks. The number one is getting the data out of these systems. Sometimes that requires custom development skills. Bringing that data into a central repository, cleaning it up, right? Getting rid of data that's not relevant or doesn't matter. It might have a degree of error to it. How do we determine that degree of error, and how do we connect that data so we can understand how these different metrics correlate or influence each other? Another big red flag is, geez, now that we've gone through this extensive process of getting data out and cleaning it up and putting it together, who can help us put together advanced analytics models? Who can help us get into machine learning? Who can help us create these AI platforms that can help us predict these issues and get in front of them before they impact our bottom line? And then lastly, once these models are built, who can integrate, the capability into how we're doing business, right? I mean, we all know that, fancy models in math, this is all great, but unless the business can actually use it in real life every day, it doesn't really matter. And so this is really where Delta Bravo comes in. So we've created a technology platform that automates a lot of these extremely complex and time-consuming processes. We're able to deploy these machine learning and AI capabilities faster. And the reason why we're here, we're talking about technology integration. One of our calling cards is being able to deploy these technologies and these capabilities without disrupting our customers' existing business models. So we fit right in. And that's really what we're going to talk about in a second with regarding our Rolls-Royce project. Another big thing that we focus on is tracking the results and the return on an investment. So anytime that you have the ability to predict things, obviously you've got the ability to see if that prediction was good, right? So this is something that we track in our software models, choose those models over time to make sure that they continue to become more accurate. So very very cool stuff, right? When you think about AI and things of that nature. So let's talk a little bit about what we're doing with Rolls-Royce right now and why we're here as a finalist for this award. So we've been working with Rolls-Royce Power Systems down in Aiken, South Carolina for about a year and a half now. And so Rolls-Royce Power Systems, they make these massive engines that are used to power trains, huge, cruise ships, fracking engines even. And when we take a look at these things, that picture is obviously not accurate from a scale perspective. But those engines are literally the size of an SUV or like a Tahoe, like a big SUV. And so when you think about those kind of engines, they cost a lot of money to create and they cost a lot of money to build and test. So what was the challenge that Rolls-Royce was having is that for a number of years, a pretty decent amount of these engines would make it all the way to the final part of their testing process, and then a catastrophic error would occur, resulting in the loss of several components of the engine, and in some cases, a total loss of that engine. This is costing Rolls-Royce millions and millions of dollars every year. And so they said, guys, if you could come in there and help us take all of this data that we've been collecting on all these parts of the process and help us be able to predict these failures, identify what is going to go wrong, and give us the ability to fix that proactively before the failure causes this massive loss, that would be fantastic. And so this is what we did. We went and we took billions of data points, consolidated them down to around 200 million in total, built and deployed models that would predict these engine failures from the day we signed the contract to the day that first model was deployed in about 45 days. So was again going back to the integration story. So this is kind of an interesting thing. So Rolls-Royce is one of their big focuses here is to say, guys, we can't disrupt the way we do business. We have this piece of software called iTest that we've been using in our test centers for, 10 years. Is there any way that you guys can integrate with that? And so again, another benefit of our technology platform is that we can export these models via API. And so right now, the way this works is that when our model predicts a failure in the test cell, it opens up a window in iTest, which is the application that they've been using for 10 years. That little window says, test paused, anomalies seen in these metrics, please pause the test, please change this part and restart the test. So their operators at first didn't even know who Delta Bravo was. All they saw was an extremely useful and awesome new capability that was completely cleanly integrated into the way they do business and into the software they're using every day. So in the time since, we've extended our models to all the engine types produced by Rolls-Royce down in the Aiken facility, and we have 0 false positives in predicting these engine failures up to 30 minutes in advance. Another kind of cool little side effect of this is that we were able to take these models and start extending them to engines that were already deployed to the field. This is profoundly useful in preventing warranty claims. So if you're able to understand the probability of an engine that's already out there and whether or not that engine is going to fail, you're able to proactively reach out to that customer, do some proactive maintenance, and avoid a warranty claim and make that customer feel that, hey, we're on top of it, guys, which I think is what everyone wants. So when we think about the overall results of this project, we started this project about a little over a year ago, and in the time since, we've returned over 10 times the return on investment. So the initial investment they made, they have saved well over 10 times that, and the amount of engines that we've saved from failure. And if you look at all the current Rolls-Royce Industry 4.0 projects, this is the one that has the greatest ROI across the whole shooting match. So it's kind of a cool project, fun technology. Again, last bit before we wrap up this intro, is a little bit more about the business. And so we've been around since 2016. Our goal has always been to use machine learning and AI to get value from the data faster. We've been built around this concept of the fact that you don't have to spend millions of dollars to do this. We know that many people are, right? But ultimately, we've believed that using the right technology and the right processes, you can get to this value faster without breaking the bank. Our first big proof for our platform was AccuWeather. So AccuWeather was kind enough in 2016 to take a chance on us. And they said, guys, if you can take data from these 90,000 different sources all around the world, bring that data together and help us model it to predict weather more accurately, that would be great. And so that was really kind of where we started. Our business model is software plus services. So we've got this wonderful technology platform, and we've got an incredible team that helps our customers deploy that platform and execute use cases, sometimes acting like we're their data science team. Like we talked about before, our core value propositions as a business is that we tend to do things a lot faster. Our technology is built around automation. You guys know when we talk about automation, it's faster, less expensive, right? And that's really kind of what we're built around, and the fact that we've done this 50, 60 times. And so we've had a lot of experience rolling these projects out. We've learned a ton. And again, going back to that integration message, right? We just want to fit in. We have no intention to, shove some sort of big change down our customers' throats. We know that they just want the capability and not the headache. So wrapping it up, they said, and really kind of coming back to the full circle, about our story, is that we are South Carolina all the way. So we are a bootstrap company based in Rock Hill. We first came down here in really late 2016, early 2017, and one of the folks that's on the call today, David Warner from the Rock Hill Technology Incubator, he was the first person that convinced me that I needed to be in South Carolina in Rock Hill. Over time, his feedback has been invaluable in helping us, really shape our business model and our approach to market. The SCRA folks, without them and without the South Carolina Manufacturing Extension Partnership folks that are on this call, I can tell you guys right now that we would not be here. We cannot express our gratitude enough for the involvement of the state of South Carolina, some of the organizations that you guys see there. It's enabled us to build a wonderful company. All of our employees are based in Rock Hill out of our central office. Everyone that works at Delta Bravo either has Department of Defense top secret clearance or is in the process of getting it. These are all things that we're able to do through our connections with the state of South Carolina. And lastly, there's a lot of folks out there that, might have a presence or a development presence in the state. But ultimately, all of the code and all of our intellectual property, everything is built and maintained here in South Carolina. Our intent is not only do we spring these roots here, but we plan to continue to flourish and grow. And like I said, I couldn't be any more thrilled, excited, and more of an advocate for working in and with the state of South Carolina. So that's really a quick thing. As I say, I know we're wrapping up. So as you guys can see, this is our favorite thing to talk about. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, that'd be great. Any comments? Michael, I'll pass it back to you.
Sure. Well, great. No, thank you, Rick. That's phenomenal. We could make a whole session just talking about this, and I'm sure we'd have a lot of fun with it. But in order to make sure we have time for others, let me next introduce Glenn Watson with Agulus. Glenn, you have the podium.
Thanks, Michael. I'm Glenn Watson, president and co-founder of Agulus. Our CEO and other founder, Matt Sanford, is here as well from our offices in Greenville. He's waving if you can see him. We're an agricultural technology or ag tech startup that enables farmers to manage, plan, and sell their goods by an intelligent cloud-based software platform. By leveraging automation, new and innovative technologies, and a deeper understanding of the agricultural industry's problems, we're building a better market and a brighter future for farmers. Agriculture is South Carolina's largest industry, with an estimated $42 billion a year in economic impact, and there are about 25,000 farms in our state. They suffer from the same fractured market, inefficient methods, and lack of support as the rest of the nation's 2 million farms. The industry focuses really only on the largest 5% of farms. That is kind of a result of industry consolidation over the past generation or so. And that leaves the other 95% of farms out in the cold and on their own. And those are by and large small and mid-sized family farms. And this is primarily due to the expense required to interact with smaller farms. It's just easier for a lot of these entities in agriculture to interact only with the largest because of efficiencies of scale issue. So our goal is nothing short of a transformational change to the agricultural industry to provide an accessible, efficient, and effective technological solution to the vast majority of American farmers that are underserved. We've built our platform on 5 core components that we've developed in-house over the past few years that all interact to provide this greater platform to address these issues in the agricultural industry. One of the main issues, one of the main components that solves this issue is opportunity discovery. The idea that there's a lot of business to be had. There's a lot of trade to be discovered out there. There are people who are selling, there are people who are buying. Matching them is very difficult. You can't use Craigslist. You can't use eBay. You have to have a better way to be able to put these people together. And so we use AI and machine learning algorithms to take a lot of the effort off of the back of buyers and sellers to create a relevance score to be able to discover these opportunities and get them in front of potential customers. We have a communications platform that integrates a lot of the external services and internal services within Agulus that provides our customers and our platform with texting services, voice, instant messaging, and APIs to interact with outside platforms to drive collaboration and negotiation among stakeholders in the agricultural industry. The original core of Agulus is built on a contract management system that we developed for crop brokers. And that is to manage the risks associated with the payment, transportation, and fulfillment of agricultural contracts, which could be as small as a few thousand bushels of corn to, say, I think one of the largest contracts in our systems, probably in the low millions in bushels. So there's a lot to be done there to manage that process that isn't necessarily apparent from the people outside of the industry. We provide tools and services to enable farmers to plan and to be able to understand the outcome of various scenarios, to understand and explore resources and trends within their specific markets that are relevant to them, their specific, their market vertical within agriculture, to benchmark against similar operations to be able to figure out how well they're doing in that market and compared to other organizations that are similar. And to track the return on investment throughout the year. Many times, because of lack of technology, farmers don't really know what they made throughout the year. So being able to keep track of that, having that tie into contract management is pretty important for them and for their lenders. And most recently, we've added a logistics component that helps to pair freight carriers with the farmers to haul goods, finding the most relevant opportunities based on location, capabilities, and a long list of other factors. And so the result is that farmers and buyers save time and money while finding new and relevant opportunities. And we help smaller farms compete against the larger ones by making it cheaper and easier to work with them. Our platform's been around for a couple of years. We've extended it quite recently to reach a bigger audience. Our platform has helped our clients facilitate the trade of over $20 billion in agricultural goods and services across the U.S., primarily on the eastern side of the US. Historically, we focused on large farms and the agribusinesses that serve them, such as brokerage firms, crop insurance companies, and the like. However, we've been adapting our platform recently to be accessible to the 95% of small and mid-sized farms that the industry currently ignores. Our near-term goal is to get our solutions in the hands of as many farmers and buyers and freight carriers as possible nationwide.
I can tell you that my uncle, who's a dairy farmer, would very much welcome this solution. In fact, he likened his business to that of a gambler. So many of the
that's unfortunately the reality for most people today.
Sure.
Just numbers off the top of my head here. Farm sales are about $400 billion a year in the U.S. That's just raw farm sales. That has nothing to do with processing, value add, upstream economies and industries. That's well over $1 trillion. But $400 billion a year are sold from farms, and two-thirds of that amount, about $267 billion, is done so without agricultural contracts in place. So two-thirds of that is done speculatively. Hey, I hope I sell this at the right time to the right person for the right price. And that's just devastating, that lack of risk management within the industry. And that's part of what we're trying to solve through the use of contracts.
Yeah, that's great. Glenn and Matt, keep it up. Like I said, I know a few customers who will be interested in trying out your platform.
Awesome. You can email me their names if you wish.
All right, that sounds great.
We're happy to reach out.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, let me move on to our third finalist in this category, Shrikant Pila, who is going to talk to us about the Clemson Composite Center. Shrikant?
Fantastic. Can you all hear me? Okay.
We can.
Wonderful. Awesome. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Innovation Finalists Meet. It's a great feeling to actually be in this short group of people. And I would like to introduce my team members here. Dr. Gang Lee, who is a professor of mechanical engineering, who also is a member of the Clemson Composite Center leadership, and is also a principal investigator in the project that I'm going to explain in a few minutes. And then along with Dr. Lee, we also have a student, I think only one. Yep, only one, Sai Aditya Pradeep. And of course, we have a couple of other students, but as you know, the classes are going on, so probably they couldn't attend. But they are the real champions. I mean, Sai and other students, Anmol, although they are not here, I'm just gonna, it's my customary to mention their names. They are the ones who actually did the work that I'm gonna describe, and we just kind of steal stuff from them and try to present to you guys. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about is not what a typical professor thinks through, right? Clemson Composite Center, which was actually publicly announced or officially announced just a few days ago. And there was a logo behind which there was a picture, and I'm actually revealing the picture to you. This is kind of a center which embodies true innovation through translation. So that's basically what the philosophy we follow. And the picture that you see is in terms of the scale, if you want to imagine, if I need to annotate, this particular height is basically my height. So you can understand the scale of this equipment, which is very different for a university or academic institution to actually have it. But that itself gives you the kind of thought process Clemson can think through in terms of bringing forth fundamental research concepts into real time, working with the industries. And that exactly happened back in 2016 when we put together a proposal on a call from the Department of Energy. And the call is all about develop a technology that can, for a door, a mid-size SUV door for vehicle, as you can see here. And you take any kind of technology, it doesn't matter, but you take an existing vehicle and there is a door, and your new technology or the door that you develop out of the new technology has to weigh at least 42.5 reduced weight than what the baseline door is. You cannot compromise on any of the performance targets, and the maximum cost induced, that means you can go up to $5 for every pound of weight that you save. From a scalability standpoint, you cannot do this at a bench scale with a coupons or in a lab small setting. You have to make sure that the processes that you select, the technology that you select, should be scalable enough for at least 20,000 vehicles. That means you have to make at least 80,000 doors, because there are 4 doors for a vehicle. So those are the 4 key high-level metrics that were given by the Department of Energy. And then since we also embody the philosophy of sustainability, we basically added on an additional constraint for us that the technology that we develop, the door that we develop, the materials and everything that we use should be able to be recycled at the end of the post-service life of the door. So that's the 5th constraint that we had it. And with all these challenges, we partnered with Honda and we selected 2015 Honda MDX as the baseline vehicle. And the door that you see over there, that's the composites door, but they originally had a high strength steel. So we pledged to replace the high strength steel door with a composites door, and develop the technology around it to meet all of these metrics. So let's see how we actually perform. One thing I want to say is what you're actually seeing right now, or going to listen in the next couple of minutes, the result is the world's first thermoplastic composites door. If you look at the composites technology, or even let us say lightweight technologies, the baseline is the steel door. And one of the key ways you can lightweight that is by looking for a lightweight material, metal, let's say aluminum or magnesium. Those technologies have already been implemented and commercialized in several different vehicles. And when it comes to composites, there are 2 key concepts that you can implement. The first one is thermoset-based composites, carbon fiber reinforced thermoset-based composites. That particular technology is already implemented in BMW i8. So when we were putting together this whole proposal and the concept for the Department of Energy, one key thing we thought about is there's no fun as a professors, right? We don't feel excited when we try to recreate something which industries have already done. We would like to develop science and innovation that can actually change what an industry is thinking about. So when we looked around, thermoplastic composites or carbon fiber reinforced thermoplastic composites are the ones which no one has even attempted to make it for a structural entity. And that triggered our interest, and we basically said, okay, we will do this. And I still remember when we got the award, the program manager basically said, we selected you guys primarily due to your outside the box thinking that thermoplastic composites can be used or implemented for heavy structural component like a door. And that year, the Department of Energy gave 3 awards in this category. 2 of them went to industry. We are the only academic institution to have won this award in 2016, which is actually a big deal because until that time, no university was actually even thought about making a real door starting from a coupon level. But at the same time, educating and training so much of workforce students, postdocs, scientists that are coming out of this. So what we have done is we have a big constraint because our door has to fit into the existing vehicle. So the boundary conditions are fixed. We cannot do anything with that. But we went creatively and we said, let's completely disintegrate the door and look at the anatomy of the door and see where we can actually redesign it by just keeping the boundary conditions as is. So all the people, the students, faculty came across, we were shut into one room. We went into a room, shut the door, and for about 3 to 4 hours, we kind of tossed multiple different ideas. Finally, we came up with 6 different concepts of or ways we can actually design the door and develop it. Of course, we were able to eliminate 5 of them for various other reasons. But the final design that we came up is what you're seeing up right over here. And just to give you an idea of how much design integration we have done, these are the design concepts that are already available, but we kind of basically put together and to develop a technology that is usable, practical, and can be implemented immediately in the industry. The baseline door, from a structural parts standpoint, has 17 components, and the composites door has only 8 components. So we were able to do 52% of parts consolidation using the design philosophies and methodologies that we came up. And the major structural integration or consolidation that we did was in the inner frame. So you have it in a steel component, you have a steel frame, plus you have an interior panel. But in this particular case, those two are integrated, and that's basically what you see in the picture right here. And that could have happened only because we were using composites whose manufacturing provides us with the flexibility to do such kind of integration. So the inner frame, which is basically we are using thermoforming process to manufacture it, consists of the materials that you see, and it's 100% reprocessable or recyclable. So nothing post-service life actually stays inside and it goes to any landfill. It can be repurposed and put it back into the supply chain. The anti-intrusion beam, which is a major safety resource for doors, when especially during crash, we basically said we will inherit directly from the baseline door, although we had a alternative composites version also developed.
This is great. So this is going to save a lot of weight, right?
Absolutely.
What about cost? Where does that come in?
Absolutely. I'll come to that just in a minute.
Okay.
Right. Probably less than a minute, but
less than a minute. Okay. For an academic, that's quite an offer there.
Yep. So if you can basically, as you can see here, the belt line stiffener, outer and as well as the inner, right? And also the lower reinforcements and also the aesthetic components. There are so many different technologies that we have integrated together, whether it's the additive manufacturing based component, thermoforming, or extrusion, metal extrusion, or it could even be an injection molding within the outside aesthetic component. And all of these came together to basically provide a resource, a single resource that constitutes the lightweight composites technology for a structural a door component or a structural door in an SUV, in a mid-size SUV. And from a weight reduction standpoint, as you can see, we were able to demonstrate 45%, just taking into consideration the structural components, which is actually a big thing, right? Now, coming to the question that Michael was asking, where does it stand from a cost standpoint? So we were allowed, as per the project, right, going up to $150 per door, which is actually, if you think about it, that's a great leeway that the DOE has given, because in an automotive sector, they would the industry would not like to go beyond $2.5 for every pound of weight that we say. But DOE wanted to be more flexible, and they gave $5. So when we use the carbon fiber reinforced technology, then we are at probably around $5 to $5.50 per pound of weight that we say. So we're a little bit over in the cost. But we also have tested the same thing, thermoplastics, but with glass fiber. And when we did that, we were almost at 1/10 of the cost. So it all depends ultimately on the industry, whether they want to go with the glass fiber reinforced route or the carbon fiber reinforced route. Both of them, the prime matrix or the resin is thermoplastic, which makes it, again, 100% reprocessable.
You've been on the same slide this whole time.
Okay.
All right, Srikanth, I'm going to have to, just in the interest of time, this is fascinating, but yeah. I think we're going to have to move on. But thank you. This is really good stuff. And I think one thing we might do is share some of this information with the attendees if you're interested, since there's just so much depth to what's going on here. But let's move on to the sustainable finalists. Finalists. Yeah, thank you, Srikanth. So the second category that we have finalists for today is sustainability. And the Sustainability Award recognizes an organization for technological innovation and environmental stewardship. The focus of this award is on the innovative development or application of technology to promote the protection of the Earth's natural resources, including renewable energy, renewable materials, reduced energy consumption, or reduced waste. In fact, you can see that Shrikant's project is hitting some of these buttons. But let's talk about the three finalists in this particular category. There's Sunoco Products Company, Clemson's University Foam Recycling Center, and iForm Inc. So let's start off with Sunoco Products Company. And Bill Wilson, if you could tell us about that innovation.
I sure will, Michael. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Again, I'm Bill Wilson. I'm a project manager with Sunoco, and I'm part of the team that has launched what we call the Neutralis package. I think a lot of you know Sunoco is a global packaging company. We're headquartered in Hartsville, South Carolina in the PD region. We have an extensive portfolio of industrial and consumer packages. There's, I would dare say, packages you have right now in your home that you'll probably use tonight when you make dinner, and we make many of those. Our customers are coming to us every day now saying, can you give us something that's more sustainable? It's recycled, it uses sustainable materials, it's lighter weight, and that's really been a key focus of our technology organization over the past several years. Out of that work has come what we're calling the Neutralis package, and that term may sound a little strange. It's N-A-T-R-E-L-L-I-S. That's a term we branded. Let me show you this. I don't have a slide. We're going really low tech. I'm just holding up an example of the package. It's an article that we have a mock-up of a healthy meal in here, and we've got a lid on top, and I'll explain a little bit more about it in just a minute. This genesis of this project came about 3 years ago when we started working with a company called TELUS Products down in South Florida. And TELUS is a new company formed by 3 large sugar producers, co-ops and sugar producers that came together and said, we have an issue that's been around the sugar industry for years. If you know anything about sugarcane production, the cane that's left over is called bagasse. It's a byproduct of the sugarcane processing process. And sugarcane producers say, what do we do with this stuff? I think something like 8 million metric tons of sugar was processed in the U.S. last year. And if I have my numbers right, maybe 2 to 3 million tons of bagasse was left over. So it can be burned, it can be taken to the landfill. It is used in biomass and some things like that. But you know, doing something with fiber is a big challenge for the industry. TELUS began producing tableware, you know, think of picnic plates and takeout food containers from this bagasse fiber. So it's basically sugarcane fiber that's upcycled. It replaces a plastic bowl or something that might not be quite as sustainable. It's a good market, it's good business. They came to Sunoco, I think it was 3 years ago, and asked if we could start helping them get into some more demanding markets, things like frozen foods, things like chilled prepared meals. And you know, our background in fiber technology, our background in pulping, it seemed like a good fit, and we're delighted to start working with TELUS to do that. Think about a package that you take home in your microwave for dinner tonight. You know, it's a little more demanding than a picnic plate. There's liquids, there's grease, there's oils in the food. The freeze-thaw cycle, if it's a frozen meal, heating it up in the oven puts a lot more requirements on it. So we jumped onto that challenge. We have some great material scientists, and I'll introduce some of them in a minute. We started working on that. The key challenge for this project was we had to figure out a way to do this without using any PFAS chemicals. And if you're keeping up with the environment and sustainability these days, you know that these fluorocarbon chemicals, and there's many of them out there, and you know, Teflon, for example, is a PFAS, are getting a lot of scrutiny from environmentalists. They're actually being banned in food packages in several states in the United States right now. So the directive was, we need to do this. We need to figure out a way to do it without PFAS. And PFAS is great for holding out oil and grease and water protection, but it's not a good long-term sustainability story. So long story short, we did crack the code on this last year. We came up with a way to add what we call a performance layer to the interior package, which delivers all the performance requirements without PFAS chemicals and allows us to move into these markets, allows our partnership to move into these markets. So last year, Primal Kitchens, which is a fast-growing, healthy food company that focuses on paleo-friendly and keto-friendly meals, launched 3 new frozen meals in our Neutralis package. COVID has unfortunately slowed things down, but they're slowly starting to roll out on the store shelves. So in fact, we just saw some in local Harris Teeter the other day. So that's very exciting now that that's getting out there. The reaction to the package from both the customer and the consumer has been good. And I'll also mention that Sunoco makes a variety of lids. We make paper-based and film-based lidding. We offer a plastic rigid lidding if that fits for a customer. So, you know, the total packaging solution is very important to Sunoco. And so this project embodies all that. The other thing it embodies is partnership and collaboration. I've heard that talked about already, and this project has been great for that. TELUS, so I mentioned, the company down in South Florida, has been a great partner to work with. We're really excited about what the future holds. And we've also partnered with 2 South Carolina companies who've been really instrumental in getting us where we are in the marketplace today. The first is a company called Integrated Systems Incorporated. They're a custom automation and robotics company. They're headquartered in Darlington, just down the street for us, but that's more coincidental than anything because they're a global supplier of custom automation to companies all over the world. They've been very helpful working with us on taking our process and figuring out how to do it optimally, cost effectively, at scale, and with high quality. So as we start gearing up and talking about millions and tens of millions of these packages out in the marketplace soon, they've been very important on this. I looked earlier, I didn't see anyone from ISI on the line. Is anyone out there? I don't think so. The second South Carolina company is Motus, spelled M-O-T-U-S, headquartered in Greenville. Like ISI, they're also a automation, robotics, and engineering company. And sort of similar to us and ISI, they've been working with TELUS for a number of years. TELUS really has a state-of-the-art pulping and molding operation down in Florida, and Motus has been instrumental in helping them get to that point. And so now all 4 companies are collaborating very well together, looking at how can we take this process and how can we develop it at scale, and how can we most effectively integrate it among the molding and operations and our operation that puts the performance layer on there. I saw Matt Job, who's the president of Motus, on. Matt, are you out there? I think some of your teammates are on. Can you wave your hand or say something? Matt? All right, well, I think they're out there.
They're hiding out there in the Zoomosphere.
Yeah, exactly. There are a lot of folks on the line now, so at any rate. So we appreciate the partnership with Motus and ISI. And then let me close by introducing a couple of our technologists from Sunoco. We've got several people on the line from Sunoco, but I talked about, you know, cracking the code in terms of material science. Bob Verslis has been really the key to that. And Bob, I know you're out there. I saw you earlier. Can you make your presence known?
He's in the trees.
He's in the trees. That's right. He's in the trees.
Hello, everybody. I'm not shy like the robotics engineer, so I'll say hi.
Bob's got a great material science background, and really this has been his, I'll just say it's been his passion for the past couple of years, figuring out how to do this, and he's been so diligent and brought a wealth of knowledge to this. So thanks, Bob. Brian Guzzi is also on the line.
Hello, everyone. Great to be here.
He's Pittsburgh behind him.
Yep.
Brian joined us a couple of years ago after spending a number of years in other food CPGs and doing packaging development with them. And it's been really helpful to have Brian on board. He's a mechanical engineer, very talented mechanical engineer. So he's been working with our team as well as ISI and now Motus on taking, again, how do we take this process and take it to scale and do it economically and cost effectively. So it has truly been a team effort, which is, you know, the best way to do a project like this. So I think that's everybody.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Bill. That was a great overview. I'd like to move next to T-Form. Turns out that Ben Moore, who's one of the founders of T-Form Packaging, is actually tied up this afternoon. I think he told me they have a big deal with Amazon they're trying to close. So Amy is volunteered to tell us a little quick story about bubble paper, which is an innovation that enabled them to become a member of our finalist group.
Thank you. I will do it as much justice as I can by reading what they've submitted. But as Michael said, T-Form has submitted an entry on bubble wrap T-Form, the company develops and leverages technologies to deliver innovative packaging solutions, specializing in formable materials ranged and to serve the industrial and cold chain packaging markets. Bubble wrap itself is a formed paper sheet in which rows of bubbles provide both mechanical and thermal protection to items during shipment. The manufacturing process, which is a proprietary process, and the bubble geometry traps air and then self-insulates the adjacent pockets, providing efficient insulation to products requiring shipment at the cooler temperatures. And then the bubbles, of course, protect against damage due to their energy absorbing properties. I do recall something that was mentioned by the judges when they were discussing this product, and somebody was explaining that this, for instance, would also make something that was completely recyclable because the packages that we now have, which are paper with plastic bubbles on the inside attached to that paper to cushion, are difficult to recycle because you have two different materials. And this bubble paper reduces the amount of packaging and that it's just one type of material. Also, the nesting quality of that bubble paper design dramatically reduces the amount of space necessary to ship and store material. So it ultimately reduces logistical costs. And then from the standpoint of storage and the product itself, 10 times more bubble paper will ship on a pallet than the conventional plastic bubble wrap.
Wow.
So yeah, I have to say that the judges were very impressed with all three finalists in this arena and this category. And not just impressed, they were all very excited by the impact that each one of these is going to have on the environment.
Well, this is the future of our planet and certainly our children and grandchildren. So it's a very timely and important topic. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Amy, for standing in for Ben. I'm sure he'll appreciate it. We have one more finalist in this area, in this category, the Clemson University Foam Research Center. And Shrikant, I guess you're going to speak for that group as well. So you're working in two different areas. So it's all yours.
Yep. Hello again. So I just wanted to put forth here a project that again the Composite Center is working on, but it's now focused purely on sustainability. Although we have the previous technology integration also embodied the sustainability concepts. But this particular research, which is, I think I have the team member here, James Sternberg. James, you're there? Are you left? Okay, he's doing an experiment on the main campus. So, so in this particular project, what we or concept, what we have done is. If you look at the foam technology, especially the polyurethane foams, as much as they cater towards the sustainability, one key aspect of them is the isocyanate that is the killer in terms of looking at the environmental consciousness of the material. So people have tried to replace the polyol aspect of it with the bio-based precursors. To advocate sustainability or bio-based nature towards this material. However, the key thing that they have missed out is the isocyanate architecture. So that is where we basically said, how can we develop a non-isocyanate based polyurethane, and not only making the polyurethane, but transforming that ultimately into a foam, because that's a key thing, right? I mean, ultimately you have to make a product that can be used by industries. And more importantly, another thing that we thought about is how can we even use environmentally friendly, non-toxic chemicals and reagents. So those three became part of what we say this whole concept of the project. And you can see that there is a big push for sustainability. I mean, this particular foam cushion that you see, which is currently commercialized by Ford, that actually has a lot of bio-based content, right? But it still has the isocyanate thing in there. That's basically what we're saying. And in our case, what we have done is we have taken lignin, which is a bio-based material, and then we used what's called organic cyclical carbonates, and we completely eliminated the isocyanate chemical, and we used all the chemical environmentally friendly, non-toxic chemical reagents to develop the non-isocyanate polyurethane architecture. And then we have formed it, and this is kind of a sample form structure that you're seeing. By fine-tuning the chemistry, we can actually make a rigid form or a flexible form. And once we have done the radiocarbon testing according to ASTM 6866, there are outside labs that actually do it. The kind of result we got is actually surprised us very much, because this is 100% accurate measurement done by a standard outside entity. And what we have got is that our foam actually has 100% bio-based carbon. That means not even a single petroleum-based carbon is part of the final product that we have made. So that's the technology that we have developed in this, and we are currently working on transforming this into a rigid packaging as well as a flexible packaging material for especially food packaging, not for food contact per se, but for transporting of food. So that's the innovation, and James Sternberg, who is in the audience, is the prime person who worked on this. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to take over.
Great. Well, Shrikant, that's fantastic too. You've been involved in two different areas and certainly overlapping and with respect to the sustainability side of our objective here. Well, great. I would love to entertain some questions, but unfortunately, if we're going to keep our time commitment, I must call us to a close, but certainly feel free to reach out to any of these finalists to learn more about what they've been up to, as well as if you'd like to seek some business partnerships. That's one of the objectives we have here at InnoVision, is to try to be a catalyst for people connecting and so forth. So this has been great. How about a round of applause for all of these great finalists? Fantastic. Amy, I saw that you'd like to maybe make a comment.
Yes, I was just going to remind the group, I heard a lot about collaboration and innovative collaboration, and we do have another Zoom meeting in 2 days, and it's on rapid innovation, specifically within the healthcare industry. But I think still there are a lot of takeaways and lessons learned on rapid innovation that I'm sure carry over to other industries and sectors. So we hope you'll join us for that, as well as the remaining Meet the Finalists webinars. There's a lot of information from the different categories that do carry over to other categories. So I hope you'll join us.
And don't forget the final event, which is the awards event on November 17th, yes, where we'll announce the winners of each of these categories. So if you were having difficulty trying to figure out who would be the winners in each of these categories, well, guess what? We've had the same challenge. So unfortunately, we'll have to wait until November 17th to find out at least how our judges saw this. So we hope you'll join us then as well. But thank you for joining us today, and thank you, finalists, and congratulations.